In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 NBA games happening on December 29, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Indiana Pacers versus Houston Rockets. The Pacers are still short-handed, with Isaiah Jackson out and both T.J. McConnell and Ben Shepherd sitting in that annoying questionable bucket. The Rockets open as massive favorites, which is exactly what you would expect when a team on an 8-game skid walks into your building. Indiana comes in owning the current longest losing streak in the league, hoping this trip to Houston finally snaps it. After 32 games, they have only 6 wins, which says a lot about how rough this season has been. Calling it a season to forget almost feels kind. During this slide, the Pacers have put up the league's worst offensive rating at just 104.9 points per 100 possessions, about 2.5 points worse than the next worst team, the Bucks in this sample. That is rough. On the other end, it is not a total disaster, but it is far from pretty. There are 4 teams with worse defensive efficiency during this stretch, and Indiana is still giving up 119.4 points per 100 possessions. So you have a team that is not scoring well and is also leaking enough on defense that they are constantly climbing uphill. Houston, in contrast, looks like it has steadied itself a bit. The Rockets have bounced back from their little slump with back-to-back double-digit wins over the Lakers and Cavaliers. Alperen Sengun even sat out the Cavs game with that calf issue, and it hardly mattered. The defense locked in and held Cleveland to just 100 points. That is a big improvement after allowing 128 and 125 to the Clippers and Kings not that long ago. Sengun's status still hangs in the air, and honestly it would not be shocking if Houston decided to give him another night off against this level of opponent. Even with that possibility, the Rockets have shown they can still handle business, especially when the effort on defense is there like it has been recently. Now, to be fair, the spread is big, and Houston has not been automatic against the number at home. Despite a strong 9-2 straight-up record in their own building, they have covered only 6 of those 11 games. Indiana does have the historical edge, winning 10 of the last 11 meetings and 5 of 6 at Toyota Center. But those wins came when this roster was in better shape and not stuck in the mud like it is now. The Pacers are getting healthier on paper, but the losses and failed covers keep stacking up. The Rockets finished the week strong, the defense ticked up, and this matchup gives them every chance to keep that going if they stay locked in mentally. If Houston treats this like a real test instead of a victory lap, the talent gap and current form both point to this turning into a comfortable margin for the home side rather than a nail-biter. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Rockets to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Switching over to how many points we are likely to see, the numbers for both teams lean toward a pretty lively scoreboard. Indiana is averaging 109.2 points on 42.9% shooting and allowing 117.7 points on 47.6% shooting. They are hitting 32.1% from beyond the arc and 77.3% from the free throw line. They allow opponents to shoot 33.5% from deep and they grab 43.7 rebounds per game. That profile screams inconsistency on offense, but also a defense that does not shut things down. When your own shooting is shaky and you are still giving up close to 120 points on solid efficiency, games tend to stay open for runs in both directions. Houston's scoring line is a lot louder. The Rockets are averaging 120.6 points on 48.7% shooting and allowing 112.7 points on 46.2% shooting. They are knocking down 40% of their threes and 78.2% at the stripe. They allow 35.3% from deep and pull in a hefty 48.7 rebounds per game. That combination, high efficiency from the field and from 3, plus a big edge on the glass, usually leads to a lot of extra chances and clean looks. Even when their defense is solid, the pace and volume of good shots can still push totals upward. Put the two together and you have one team that bleeds points while fighting its own shooting demons, and another that has been scoring freely with strong percentages and a lot of rebounding muscle. If Indiana continues to struggle to string together stops and Houston keeps playing with the confidence it showed against the Lakers and Cavaliers, this shapes up as the kind of game that lives in a higher scoring range rather than a slow, grind-heavy rock fight. Even if Sengun sits, the recent evidence suggests the Rockets can still move the ball, space the floor, and keep the offense humming well enough to lift the combined total. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Cleveland Cavaliers versus San Antonio Spurs. The Cavaliers are still without Larry Nance Jr. and Max Strus, while the Spurs are monitoring De'Aaron Fox, who is questionable. Cleveland is wobbling, and yet there is still just enough talent there that you can talk yourself into them having a puncher's chance, even in this funk. On the other side, the Spurs have been one of the hotter teams in the league lately, and they come in nearly at full strength, which only adds to the contrast. Cleveland teased a turnaround not long ago, then immediately undercut it with back-to-back losses to the Knicks and Rockets. That Christmas loss to New York was brutal. They led for more than 70% of the game, were up by as many as 17 before the fourth quarter, then collapsed late. In a way, that game summed up their whole season, long stretches where they look fine, followed by a sudden unraveling when it matters most. They simply do not resemble the version that caught everyone's attention last regular season, and now they are scrapping just to stay in the mix for one of the top 6 spots in the East instead of setting the pace. The Spurs are not coming in spotless either. Their last outing was a 13-point loss to the Jazz in a game where they were favored by 16.5. That kind of result jumps off the page. There were positives though, most notably Victor Wembanyama returning to the starting lineup after coming off the bench and seeing a minute limit while his calf healed. With him ramping back up, you expect their rotations and rhythm to settle. He draws a front-court matchup with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley here, and neither of them has his combination of height and bounce. If he gets comfortable, he can tilt the geometry of the game around the rim, both as a scorer and a deterrent. Layer that on top of the broader trend, the Spurs have covered in 6 of 7 home games and are 10-2 straight up in 12 games against Eastern Conference opponents. That is the profile of a team that shows up in its own building, especially against visitors from the other side of the league. The market, though, still clings to last season's image of the Cavaliers. They keep getting respect from oddsmakers on name and memory, not on what they are actually doing right now. Cleveland keeps dropping games, and they are 9-24 against the spread this season. If you had just backed their opponents every night, you would feel like you were swimming laps in profit. Their cover rate sits at 27.2%, worst in the league by a wide margin, with the next worst team, Minnesota, up at 37.5%, a full 10% gap. Put simply, this version of the Cavaliers has not earned blind faith. There is talent, sure, but the results have not matched the reputation, especially when you factor in spread performance. Even with the uncertainty around Fox, the Spurs have more than enough firepower and structure to handle a struggling Cleveland group on their home floor, and nothing the Cavs have shown so far really argues against that idea. As our first pick for this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Cleveland is averaging 120 points per game on 46.3% shooting and giving up 117.5 points on 46.8% shooting. They are hitting 34.8% from 3 and 78% at the free throw line, while allowing opponents to shoot 37.3% from deep and collecting 44.5 rebounds per game. Those numbers say they can score, but they also show a team that can slow a game down with rebounding when it wants to, and one that sometimes gives up a lot from the perimeter instead of constant transition layups. That kind of profile often leads to bursts of points wrapped inside fairly controlled half-court stretches. The Spurs are sitting in a similar neighborhood. They average 120.4 points on 48.6% shooting and allow 113.6 points on 46.6% shooting. From beyond the arc, they shoot 36.7%, and they knock down 79% of their free throws. Defensively, they are allowing 36.2% shooting from deep and grabbing 45.9 rebounds per game. So both teams can fill it up, but both also rebound very well, which is a quiet break on pace. When each side ends possessions on the glass and limits second and third chances, you naturally shave a few possessions off the game, even if the efficiency stays high. Perimeter shooting on both sides is solid rather than wild, which points more toward steady scoring than constant flurries. With that mix, it is easy to picture a game where the offenses look competent, the stars get theirs, but long stretches settle into half-court execution instead of a full-speed track meet. That kind of rhythm can land the combined total in a high but still manageable band, rather than chasing an inflated number that expects both teams to hit top gear for all 4 quarters. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Dallas Mavericks versus Portland Trail Blazers. The Mavericks are still without Kyrie Irving and Dante Exum, with Anthony Davis and Brandon Williams both sitting in that questionable bucket, while the Trail Blazers have ruled out Robert Williams III, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, and Drew Holiday again. So both rosters are clearly patched together, but the way the injuries stack up feels a bit tougher on Dallas right now. The Mavericks have cooled off as that injury list has grown, and you can say something similar about Portland, who were stumbling along before they jumped up and ambushed the Celtics last night. That sort of upset win can be a little emotional jolt for a young locker room, even if it does not magically fix all the underlying issues. Portland is on the second night of a back-to-back and has had trouble stringing wins together all season. That is the caution flag. On the other side, the Mavs are still banged up and own a 3-11 straight-up mark on the road, which is rough. They have not won a road game in 28 days, which tells you their problems away from home are not just a tiny blip. And the Trail Blazers are not getting the results they would love, but they are a young, scrappy group that usually competes. If anything, that kind of personality fits a spot like this, where they can lean on effort, crowd energy, and the confidence from knocking off Boston. You can honestly build a case for either side, especially when both rosters are dented. But with how bad Dallas has been on the road and how energized Portland looked against the Celtics, it is pretty easy to see the Blazers getting there again if they come out with the same intensity and focus as they showed yesterday. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Dallas is averaging 113.6 points on 46.6% shooting and allowing 117.4 points on 46.2% shooting. They are hitting 33.4% from beyond the arc and 76% from the free throw line. They are allowing opponents to shoot 33.1% from deep and grabbing 44.5 rebounds per game. Those figures point to a team that scores reasonably well but leaks a fair bit defensively, especially when you look at the points allowed. The combination of average three-point shooting, solid overall efficiency, and a defense that pushes opponents toward the 117 mark is usually friendly for higher totals. Portland's profile pushes things in the same direction. The Trail Blazers are averaging 116.7 points on 44.6% shooting and allowing 120.5 points on 47.7% shooting. They are shooting 33.3% from beyond the arc and 78.1% at the stripe. They are allowing 36.4% shooting from deep and hauling in 45.1 rebounds per game. So you have a team that scores enough despite a middling field goal percentage and then turns around and gives up over 120 a night on very efficient shooting, especially from three. That is often a recipe for wild runs in both directions, with plenty of clean looks for perimeter shooters and drivers. When you put both stat lines together, you see two defenses that have struggled to keep opponents in check, two offenses that can at least reach the mid-100 teens, and rebounding numbers that suggest there will be plenty of possessions to work with. Add in the back-to-back factor for Portland, which usually hurts defense more than offense, and you get a setup where a fast, loose, slightly chaotic game is more likely than a grindy, low-scoring slog. In that kind of environment, a total that leans high makes sense because the ingredients are there for long scoring stretches from both groups rather than long droughts. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.